Hello and welcome to CG Chameleon, guys and girls. So in this short video we try to explain the differences and the similarities between Yeti plugin and XGen plugin for grooming. Okay, so the most obvious or the blatant differences is that XGen ships with Maya. It means that XGen is free. As soon as you get an ND license for Maya or any license, you will get XGen with it. Okay. In the contrast, while if you want to get Yeti, you need to purchase a license. If it's an indie license, or if it's a business license, which means you need to pay for something. So that's a key point to pick either one of them. For most of people, if you don't want, or the company that you work for won't, they don't love to pay for extra plugins. But just sit here and I will try to explain the differences and the similarities between the kernel, or how the two plugins are constructed. Okay, so the first similarity, which is the most important if you want to, is both of the plugins share the same core language. The kernel language is the same, which is the ESA-XPER, which stands for Shared Expressions Language, that was originally developed by Disney company, of course. And also another similarity is both of them they tend to go for the same. If you know XGen, if you want to create grooming, you need first to create a collection. And in that collection, you create a bunch of descriptions. The same thing will go for Yeti. You need to create a Yeti node, which is the global node, the collection. And you create descriptions, which are the groom nodes. So you create a bunch of grooms there to help you get to shape the fibers generated. Because if you think about the grooming, actually you just create guides and to help guide the generated fibers. So in all plugins that to work with grooming, so they share the same idea. So we create guides to to help shape the fibers generated by either one, by the plugins themselves. Okay, so this is the first similarity between them, and it's really important if you think about it. For example, you will find that a lot of variables that will help you, get access to the guides, to shape them and to give them some shape, and to twist them and so on. So you get the variable length, which is the same. For Yeti it is called length, and for XGen it's called C-length or something like that. So you will get those variables and those functions, especially for the function, the curve function and etc., the noise function, the S noise and etc. functions that would help you again shape the grooming. They are the same because they share the same language. This is really important. For the differences, Yeti is a node based, and while XGen is not, which means that Yeti, with this nature of node behavior, will give you a more accurate way of accessing a lot of things, or manipulating the graph in general, the nodes in general, in a very flexible and accurate way. You can't do that exactly in XGen, but of course you can fake everything using the PTEX map. You can paint maps. So this is the way to do it in XGen. So XGen, if you have a problem, you just click and create a new map and you are good to go. So of course in Yeti you can create maps, but there is another difference, which is you can get more accurate, as always, control to the fibers themselves by creating something called attribute points. Those attribute points will keep in mind each strand or each guide ID, so you can access each guide, and you can access the guide from tip to base, or from base to tip, using the strand U variable. It means you can get more accurate control of the graph compared to XGen. So Yeti in that will win this extremely have a strong function in that. Okay. So of course Yeti supports UDIMs directly. So if you have UDIMs, you just bring the painted map or the texture, and Yeti is good to go with that. Of course, XGen supports UDIMs. To be honest, it's not to be honest, but it's a fact. So XGen support UDIMs, but if you have dealt with XGen, you know that you get XGen and you start painting the maps under Maya using the painting tools, which automatically will convert those paintings to PTEX maps. So you don't do that manually. So this is a benefit. But as you know, the Maya painting tools does not support UDIMs, which means if you have a model with UDIMs, you need to go to use an external software to paint the JPEG or the painting, and then you convert those painting to PTEX. Then you need to import them to XGen. So this is really sometimes extra work for you. Okay. Another difference comparing the two plugins is that Yeti has a very poor documentation and resources. So if you want to dive deeper, you won't find that help compared to XGen. If you go to YouTube and write start learning XGen, you will find tons of resources there. So this really, actually it's important, sometimes you get stuck there and you can't find the help. It's really frustrating. Okay, so that's really a difference point. Okay. Another difference is that due to the nature of node, okay, in Yeti it has a steep learning curve, which means you need to get familiar with how the nodes are behaving, how the nodes input and output. So you need some time to get accustomed to this way of working. While XGen, it's easy to learn. You just open and you follow an introduction and you will get used to the tools. Okay, but remember, the node based is very flexible, which means that you can even transfer the groom to another geometry. That's really powerful compared to XGen. XGen is very geometry change sensitive. It means that if you change a bit of geometry, everything will break. But actually it won't break, but Maya will crash. So, but in Yeti, you can even copy the groom. So if you have 10 characters, let's say 10 animals or stylized animals, and you have the same base of fur, so the same flow, same base of flow for the hair, you can just create one base and then you copy it to the other characters. Then you continue, shaping the differences. But that's really very flexible compared to XGen. Okay. For the animation, actually both of them can, you can do the animation. They support both of them, the animation. But of course, Yeti is more stable compared to XGen. XGen, in a lot of time, especially working with animation, you will get a lot of crashing. Okay, I don't know why, but I have experienced this myself. When you start trying to move something, and you will get crashing. In Yeti, it's easy. Just get the geometry deforming, and you find those fibers will follow the geometry directly without the need to to do a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work integrating the animation to the geometry itself, because the same thing, if you want some long hair animation, you need to export the guys and use maybe the N-hair system to get those animation, or use an external software like Houdini to get the dynamic animation of the curves. Then you import them back to Yeti, or same thing for XGen. So those are the main differences if you want to learn. Of course, they say also that there is a difference. They say if you want to create fur, you can go for Yeti. If you want to create some hair, you can go for XGen. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, because both of the systems are grooming. So if you know grooming in one thing, you can achieve a close 99% the same result on the other plugin. So this is, you know, just the way of thing you want to work and how faster you want to go, because the node editor will allow you to copy and paste and so on. It's more flexible. And of course for Yeti supports instancing. So because, you know, again, due to the node nature of Yeti, you can do instancing, which means you can scatter geometry on the fibers themselves, which is really powerful. You can add, you know, some random stuff, which will add a lot of realism to the fur. Especially on the fur, you will add some I don't know, debris or some dirt or some. You can add that, and it will really help breathe the life into your character, of course. And Yeti, of course, supports internal feathering system, so you can create feather inside of Yeti, and also using the instancing node, so you can instance the feathers, and you get really beautiful result. Of course, also Yeti has braid system. If you want to create the braid for any hair, you can get it done quickly. Of course, this is not a problem. You can shape it in other software for XGen, or you create it yourself using curve and a spiral curve and so on. Okay, that's, you know, that's globally the major differences between both of them. But this is, you know, this is my point of view, my experience dealing with both of the plugins. So I can say that XGen maybe is 85% stable. Actually, it is stable if you are working with a still image. It means there is no animation. Actually, it's XGen rarely crashes there if you are working with still image. But as soon as you start, you know, things get complex and you start doing some animation and so on, XGen will start to crash a lot of times. So I can say that 85% XGen is stable and 95% Yeti is stable. And of course, because Yeti does not store external files, and XGen will do a mess in your, so because it relies on ptex map, so it stores a lot of files. So sometimes this is a problem if you want to troubleshoot a problem. So you'll get, you know, sometimes really you can have a headache trying to solve the missing map and so on. XGen does not. XGen, everything is one file, and so that makes it more stable compared to XGen. Okay. Another experience that I have, so which is this time will goes for Yeti. Yeti will go for XGen. XGen is faster than Yeti, especially when the graphs get complex in Yeti. So XGen evaluate faster than Yeti. This is my experience. I have an i9 here, and I experienced that Yeti, you know, quickly the graph, if the graph starts to get complex, and you cannot bake like we have in XGen, so you can bake the modifiers and so on. So it's faster. So the final, without going in more details, faster evaluating goes for XGen, and Yeti is a bit slow, compared to XGen. So those are the main differences between both of the plugins. That's my personal point of view and my experience dealing with both of them. I hope this was helpful for you guys. See you in the next video.